Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gruters, let's talk about restoration of Amtrak along the Gulf Coast. The omnibus bill recently passed by the Congress and signed by the President provides for grant funds for restoration of passenger rail service. We haven't had this on the Gulf Coast since Hurricane Katrina. Amtrak CEO Richard Anderson sent a letter to CSX expressing support for restoration along the Gulf Coast. The Southern Rail Commission and the Gulf Coast Working Group are to be commended for the steps they've made in making this work. And the Gulf Coast Working Group pointed out that the mega region that this would serve, as the population is expected to increase by 10 million people in the next 30 years. So let me just say, I support this. We cannot do it without strong partnership with Amtrak. Are you willing to be a strong partner with us in this respect?
Thank you very much, Senator. And I'll tell you, as a Floridian, I look forward to working with you on this issue to try to find a reasonable way to make this work. I know over the past 2 years that you and Senator Nelson has both worked on appropriations to make sure that the funding was there to restart this. And I will tell you, as soon as my nomination was announced, small towns started requesting meetings with me and to share the importance it is for them to get this specific trail up and running. So you have my commitment today to working with you and your team to doing everything we can in a reasonable way to make this work.
Given that there's high demand for this route and that local community is willing to kick in to provide a portion of the funding, do you have an opinion yet as to whether this is an economically viable route for Amtrak?
Unfortunately, I'm not on the board yet, but I will tell you, as a CPA, looking for efficiencies is certainly going to be important. But like I said, as a Floridian and having this route go across our entire state, the northern part of our state, I'd like to see it put back into place, and I will certainly work with you and your team and the Amtrak leadership to try to make it happen. You know,
we think we can do the Mobile and New Orleans route first, and then on to Tallahassee and points east. There's another route in my home state I want to call to your attention and the attention of members of this committee, and that's the city of New Orleans. Runs from New Orleans on up to Chicago. I was on this train recently. I want to invite you to join me and other members of your board to join me in riding this train. I think it'd be an education to see the amount of people that depend on this. So what do you say I meet you in Macomb, Mississippi, and we'll get on the city of New Orleans. We're going to go to Jackson, up to Greenwood, the new stop in Marks, and I'll jump off at Memphis. Is that something that you'd be willing to look at and look at the service that we would provide and look at the individuals that depend on this service? Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely, sir, and I would certainly welcome the opportunity to ride a train with you for a couple hours.
Good. I think that'd be great, and so let's do that. Let me just ask about the Host Railroad Performance Report Card. There's some good news and some bad news in this respect. In FY 2017, long-distance trains were on time at stations only an average of 47% of the time. So there's a problem with ridership. We might look at that. Report card grades, Canadian Pacific got an A, BNSF B+, Union Pacific B-, CSX C, Norfolk Southern F, Canadian National F. So a wide range of grades, I guess, as we have in every grading system. One important issue, this is an important issue facing Amtrak. Are you aware, Mr. Gruters, that the law says Amtrak has preference over freight rail in using a rail line, but there's been an issue about this
Yes, Senator, I am, and certainly reliability is critical in making sure that we retain customers. We need to have open communication and strong collaboration with our partners to make sure that we get some of these issues worked out so we can improve our on-time performance.
Okay. Well, I thank you very much. I've got, Mr. Chairman, I've got questions about public safety and highway safety, and the clock has ticked along. So I will submit those for the record. The witnesses should be aware that I'm just as interested in their issues, so I'll submit those. Thank you for your indulgence.